Good morning. My mic was off. Gonna let some people roll in before we start. Hopefully we get some people in here. Well, we got one person joining. Say hello so far. I'm just getting set up. We're gonna be talking about business stuff. So hopefully, Daniel, if you're out there, hopefully you're watching, because this one's for you. This will be really good though. This will be a really, really good lesson for a lot of artists, and how to make money and how to do a couple things that I think would help a lot of artists. So I'm excited about talking about this. So if you're joining, say hello. Love to see who's here. Okay. Hello, everyone. This will be good. Okay, I'm going to jump in. So, yeah, today's going to be kind of a whiteboard day. That's right. We're going to be sitting here on the whiteboard. We're going to be talking, and I'll have your guys chat up, and we can kind of go back and forth. And if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that. So hopefully no more anonymous people show up in the Figma. Okay, so anyway, we want time and money. Those are the two things we were talking about. Time, or money and time. And the hard thing with service work is, unfortunately, these two things can fight with each other, because when you're a freelance artist, everything we do is custom. It's so much custom work, and so you can only take on so much work. So to get a lot of time and money, you either have to take a big project, and like a really massive project, right? That'll overfill your hours, and so you don't, and it takes a longer time. Or you can do things like management. So it's either you're doing this all by yourself, right? And you only take as much as you can, or you productize your service the best you can. And so by productizing it and making it so you can take on more work, you're also going to be helping other artists. And this is something that's helped me, is sometimes I can't take every project, but I can bring work to other artists. So if we have like a bunch of jobs and I know I can't do all of these jobs, the nice thing is I can facilitate and like say, hey, artists, you do this, you do this, you do this. And if each of these jobs, are like 10K each, and I'm managing and just working with the client, because sometimes that's a whole nother job. It's just managing the project and being I would say a VFX producer. And if you put yourself in that role where you're just making sure the machine's moving, you're able to add a teeny bit of management fee. So what I would do is talk to the artist, present the project, say, how much would you bid on this? They give you their bid. Let's say it's 10K. And then you would add plus, your management fee to the client. So that the artists are getting paid what they need to, and you're getting paid to manage the project. This way you're able to take on more work. But the downside of this is you're not doing the actual work. And I think a lot of artists want to do the work. So you could do a hybrid where you are saying, you have all these 10K projects, right, that are going on at once with other clients, and part of your time is managing these, and then you have plus you doing, maybe you have one project that pays like 50K, right? And so you're able to work on those, and if you can manage those. But that's like taking a ton of time. But to get even to this point where, let's say you're not even to this point where you're getting a lot of work. So we're gonna actually go backwards a little bit. We're not gonna even get down to this road, because I feel like this is a whole rabbit hole. Because I wanted to focus on one thing, because this is like when you've hit a point where you're getting a lot of work, and that's no discussion. So time and money, I think the best thing you can do to hit a point where you're getting time and money, and how can you get more clients, and how can you get more job offers that pay really well. The best thing I believe you can do is you can build one thing, and that's your value. And this is made up of a bunch of things. So I think if you can build yourself up, your value as an artist, and make yourself really valuable, then you have a lot more power. And I'm not just talking about freelance. And so don't get this. And I would say this goes across all work, everything. So this is a lot of just business and work and working with people. you build your value, you become so valuable to a company, whether you're in a company or you're a contractor. You do this where they're like, we have to have you, and you have the power in your hands. You're able to ask for way more. You're able to bid higher on projects. And there's a lot more things you can do when you build your value. So to me, this is like the key, is make yourself incredibly valuable. And the best part is value, and we'll talk about what pieces of value, in my opinion, are in there. But value is something that it doesn't just benefit you. Like, I'm not just saying it's going to benefit you financially. This honestly does benefit your clients. 100% it benefits your clients. And so this is the best thing you can do, I would say, working in any business, and as an artist, is just build your value up. So then the question is, like, what is building value? And I would, we can start breaking this up, but I think it's skills. You have to have, skills. So depending on what you're doing, but it's important to have the skills to do the job. It's also, are these down the other, we want to do, this is another one is data. I think if you have some good data behind yourself, so you're like, hey, we were able to, this certain project brought X amount of dollars, if you're working on a video, say the video we creatively directed, it brought in this much value to this company, the commercial we worked on, whatever it is. Or you can say, like, hey, my value is, instead of spending $500,000 at a massive studio, we have a small team. You pay us $200,000 and we can do it, same quality, or whatever it is. What's up? So is having data on your side is really important too. And being able to present that data to people and saying, hey, look, I was going to say part of skills is like showing off your skills, like in your reel, like you have like a 3D reel or whatever, VFX reel. That's like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. We can see they have really good work. And I would say part of the skills doesn't have to be you doing everything. You don't need to be good at everything. But I think it's a huge advantage if you can coordinate people. So if you're like, I made this shot happen, like you were leading it, and you're like, and I hired this animator and this look dev artist and this matte painter, and you put it together, and they're like, oh wow, this person can make it come together. Another thing that's really important in art, I would say, and specifically kind of what we do, is having a good eye. Just a good eye, and working and building your artistic eye. So this is more technical, the skills, and the eye is something that you can work on by studying. I think it's so important to study lighting and references and real life and implementing those things. That's going to be like, they're going to see your stuff and say, oh my gosh, your stuff looks so cinematic. I can't tell you how many times I get hit up on Instagram and someone said, hey, I saw your Dino V robot thing. That thing looks so cinematic and so real. We like, I want to work with you. Like companies, we want you to do some stuff for our social, So they already like my value they can see is like, I have a good eye, and they saw like data. Oh, it got lots of views or whatever it is. And you have the skills. I was able to build a team around something, and I was able to make something happen. And they like seeing that. They're like, all I was doing was building my value, my value, my value. Okay. But there's one thing in these things that if you screw up, no one will care about any of this. This is one thing that I'm telling you, all of this goes out the window with this one value. And you guys are going to laugh, but it's personality. Personality. This is huge. This is huge. And again, this is not just about like I'm kind of going to be talking across the board in business, in your career, personality. Now, it's important to be true to yourself. I'm not saying you need to be like put on a fake persona, but I cannot tell you I can't stress enough how important it is to be easy to work with and not be difficult. Like, be a team player. Your personality and you being, I think I'm lucky that I'm naturally a little bit more extroverted and enthusiastic. I get enthusiastic about stuff. That's part of my personality. But I would say personality is massive. And I can't tell you how many times there have been talented, back in the day when I would film a lot more with cameras, there were certain artists, this certain person I would work with, really talented, but their personality, a lot of people had hard times working with them. And it didn't matter how good they were. No one wanted to work with them because they were like, this person's difficult. The clients were willing to take a less good looking product just so they didn't have to work with this certain personality. And it's so sad. Like to me, I got along with that person, but like I had clients that didn't want to work with a certain person because they're like, they would create some type of problem. Phone calls were kind of passive aggressive. And if you want to have clients and keep clients, it is important to keep a level of professional and keep this level of just being like, hey, we're here to service you. I'm excited to work with you guys. We love your product, and we're excited to make something awesome with you. Like, you want to come in with like a very positive and excited attitude. Like, I know some of you might be rolling your eyes being like, personality, but like, I'm telling you, this has made such a big difference in helping me land way bigger clients. Deadlines. Yes, there are deadlines. So you do need to also so part of your personality is you have to have this confidence, being like, coming in being like, hey, like, super excited to work on this. We're going to agree. We're going to go down the list. Here's the things that we're going to do to make this amazing, the best video you guys have ever seen. Like, and we're going to have checkpoints. And so it's really working with them. And I would say up front, part of the personality is the confidence and setting expectations with the client and being very straightforward. Like, if I have a certain project that's like a big project, I'll say, it's great. We're going to send you over like a contract. And I kind of explain to them, I say, the way we work is we'll have checkpoints. We'll go through the process. We'll get your approvals on different things throughout the way so we don't have to go backwards. And we're doing this. We want to be efficient with the budget, and we want to be efficient with time because things can get complicated quickly. So we'll have checkpoints with you. Once we kind of hit these checkpoints, if anything's going out, we'll get like 2 revisions, on each of these points. And if it starts going out of scope, that's when we'll add an extra charge. If you say these things up front, when the time comes, and then in their head, that's in the back of their head. So if you're working with a manager at a company, like a corporation, and they're like, hey, we changes, and then you suddenly throw at them, actually, we're going to charge more for these changes. They're going to be like, what the crap? Like, I thought this was all in the budget, But if you set the expectation at the beginning and say, hey, just so you know, like, this is our process, this is how we work, but again, you've come in with this like positive and excited, enthusiastic, personality, and then you're kind of setting expectations. Your clients are going to be there will be no surprises. That's the worst thing you throw is a curveball at a client that they're going to have to pay more. They don't like that, and it makes sense. I'm going to read Andy Keck's. I'm a lighting and look dev artist. I went to freelance, but I'm confused how I can get the client. We can talk a little bit about that too, because there are some things you can do. So value your personality is, I would say, key. 3D skills. This is where you don't have to be alone in this. You can utilize and build a community. So if you're not good at animation, like, I'm not a super good character animator, and I own it. I just say I'm not. So I have like a team of animators, or sim people, doing simulations if I'm not confident in simulation. And so, but I've built a network. And so this is another part of the skills, is building like a network, whether it's online, whether it's locally, but I think it's very important to build a network of artists. And once you kind of have this really strong network where you feel confident, and again, this is all building this value is, and having these skills, you'll feel more and more confident. You have the data to prove, you have a good eye. They've seen like your work. And so they feel confident in what you can do. So yeah, how would you get some clients? Well, I know if your goals, we'll just pick a number. If your goals, 90, like if you wanted to make like 90K a year, we'll just say it's like 90K a year, or we'll just do 100K. We'll just go, if you want to make 100,000 in 1 year, guys, sorry for my handwriting too. It's really bad. I have really bad handwriting and I'm dyslexic. But if you want to make 100K a year, we'll just do a little bit of math. I believe that's 8,500. Calculator. So divide that by 12. Yeah, it's 83. We'll round, it's like doing oops. Yeah, it's 84 a month. Okay? So it's, to me, when you start looking at it like this, I'm like, 8,400 a month, like that's doable. And so there's different ways you can come, you can approach this. If you want to be the artist and you want to do the work, and there's nothing wrong with that, you don't want to have to manage a bunch of clients and you want to hit this goal, which is, I think, a great goal. And how would you hit 84? Well, the VFX land is changing. Not everything is just, this can come from doing freelance at a studio. Sometimes if you want to be a freelancer, you could just either be a salary employee, or if they want to hire you as like a little contractor or whatever it is. If that's what you want to do, you can do that. Or you can have like, you could split this 100K into, however many, what is that? 100, let's see, sorry, pull my calculator back up. So let's say you divide that by 3, you have 3 projects that each pay 34K, right? Like in a year, like 3 commercials, 34K. That's pretty reasonable. I feel like you could do that. So these goals, I think when you break it down, I think you can see you can hit them. Or another approach, if you're someone that likes consistency and you like to have a little bit of security, another thing you can pitch is having some type of retainer, like having a retainer and a month-to-month thing. And you don't need very many clients. I would say it's better to have less clients but higher paying. So part of your value is going to help you determine what you can charge. Like this value will help you figure out what you can charge. If you bid on a project and a client says yes really fast, you probably didn't charge enough. If they're just like yes, you're like crap. If you're like, hey, I'll do it for 2,500, they're like, great. You're like, crap, didn't charge enough. So you need to know roughly what you're wanting to make daily, right? So you're like, I need to make 1K a day, or something like that. Understand your value. And then you got to start figuring out how to bid stuff. So bidding is a whole nother thing. But really quick, when you bid, if you're using other artists, you want to like talk to them about the project and get bids from them. I have had companies come to me, production companies, that they basically bid for me to the client. They're like, yeah, VFX, they're going to be like 5K, like they just suddenly like made up a random number. They came to me and they're like, hey, how much is this going to cost? And I'm like, how many shots is it? 25. Okay. Each shot needs to be, I would be like, it needs to be 3D. We need to do, sorry, let me think about this. It needs to be, we need tracking, I'm like, okay, and let's say each shot for tracking is, let's say $500, but there's 25 shots. You know what I mean? Like times 25, that's a ton. And so what I'll do sometimes is I'll compress it, but you have to look at it shot by shot because every shot is custom. In VFX land, there's not like a copy paste. The only things that you can use over and over are going to be like rigged characters, maybe some assets, modeled assets. Look dev is going to be a one-time charge thing. Yeah, modeling, rigging, animation is going to be custom every time. Camera tracking, compositing is going to be every time. You're going to have to charge for every shot. Rotoing, every shot. So you have to figure out what things you have to charge per shot and what things are just like an asset. So when you're bidding, kind of like split it up into two categories. You have your asset creations and then you have your like shots. That's kind of how I have to do it because it can get confusing. You don't want to charge because you would charge more for an asset being created. Let's say a 3D dragon rigged, textured and look dev'd. The model is going to cost, an artist charges you like $3K and then another look dev guy calls $3K. So it can add up quickly and it's good to have, and maybe I'll release to you guys, not today, but maybe on my Patreon, I'll give away my, I have a Google sheet that does all this math for you. So you can be like, plug it all in and then it'll spit out a nice little graph for you, a pie chart, and it'll show how much money is going to which department, and then it'll also kind of show you, how it's broken down. So it's really cool. It's helpful. And then you can even have a client look at it if they want. Sometimes it's good to have a client look at it if they push back, because if they don't understand VFX or 3D, then you say, hey, let me show you. But other times you can just say, hey, it costs this much. And if they have questions, you're like, hey, happy to answer them. And so they feel like you're not trying to like swindle them. Anyway, so bidding, that's a whole nother thing. But back to like our month-to-month goals. Yeah, you can work at a studio. You can do a couple big projects, which is great, or the retainer process. And a way you can get a retainer is this. So let's say you do one project for one company. They said, hey, we want you to do this commercial. You bid on the commercial. It's like a smaller one. It's maybe like a 15, 30-second commercial. And that one cost them, let's just say $15K. For that one, but they're like, we want to do this monthly though. We have like, it's going to go on our social medias, right? We're just pretending. We want this to go on our social medias. And so you're like, okay, when we did this video is $15K for one of those, but I like the consistency and I want to keep working with you as a client. So here's what we can do. I'll do a monthly retainer for you guys, but I want a, 6 months, 6-month contract to it, like, 12 months. And you say, we're going to just do like $12K a month or something like that. So it's like, you guys are going to save $3,000, because it's nice because now I just have to handle that. And if you're making $12,000 a month, you're making way over this, But if you pitch it to them where it's like, if you can bring the value where they're like, oh, we need more of these, whatever this was, you made this so good. This one project with them where they were like, more. And you're like, oh, hey, here's what I would love to help you guys. I'll do a bunch of these, I'll do one of these a month for you. And we just do a contract and I'll give you a reduced price because for me, it's nice. Because I like the consistency and I want to work with you guys. I mean, in this scenario, you don't need any more clients, but it doesn't have to even be this big. You could manage, 2 clients and have each of them even at like, 5K a month. And that's all you need. You only need 2 clients you're managing and you're making maybe these short social media posts for them or however much you're comfortable. And you're able to hit your financial goals as a freelancer. But it's first kind of getting this this first project that kind of convinces them. And right now, there's a lot of companies that are wanting social 3D VFX in their social media, which is really fascinating. It's not always going to have to be a big commercial. It doesn't always have to be a feature film. I think there's this there's this idea that people think that to be a VFX artist, you have to work on films and you have to work on whatever it is, like a big thing. It's like, no, a lot of my career, no, I'm fortunate where I'm making good money, and I'm not like, I don't work at a big studio. I'm able to work with these different companies that have products and make their products cool. They want to see their products in a cool way. They like that. And so a lot of these companies are wanting, especially with social media, we want consistent content coming out every month, and we want it good. We want eyes. We want people to stop scrolling. And so if there's a way for you to bring that value to these companies, and once you kill it on the first job, you do such a good job. You do 1 month where you're like, we'll do one big post for you guys a month on your social media, have VFX in it, and we're going to do a cool product rendering. They're excited because they're getting really good content. You're excited because you got paid pretty good, and it was, you're not having to render in 4K. You're rendering like long reels even. But there's a lot of clients out there like this, that they are using VFX in a different way. And I think artists get, the little, they're like, I don't want to have to do that. But it's like, hey, you can work in films. That's fine. You can work at a studio. That's great. And that's a great life. And some people like it. There's a whole nother world out there of work that needs to be done in 3D. So these are just a couple different ways you can hit your financial goals, I would say relatively quickly, just by either having retainers, a couple of projects in a year, or you work at a studio. There's many different ways. So another way is, once you're kind of building, another thing that can happen that I've experienced is doing, let's say you have a company and you do one project for them in a year, and let's say it cost them $80K. Sorry, my handwriting. You did one project and it was $80K, and it was big thing, and you kill it. And this is why I think it's really important to deliver a really good product and build a good relationship with these people, because you don't know where that can happen. And this company might be like, that one video that he did cost that much. What if we hired him? Could we get 2 of these videos times 2 in 1 year? And each of those aren't going to cost us $80K, but we'll just give him a salary. We'll bring him in as a full-time employee. And then you can talk to them and be like, hey, I charged X amount for that one project. So, that roughly puts me over 100,000, into whatever. There's so many ways you can, but it's really creating, it all comes back to this. And I think this is the biggest thing that I just want to keep hammering on. Maybe I need to change color. Is building up that value and showing your value. And I think when you've built that value and the client values you, you have a lot more power in your hands. You're able to get more out of your career. And so I think figuring out how to do these things, being awesome to work with, and I would even say this also goes with, not just with clients, this goes with working with other artists. It's super important. If you are someone that's hey, they're reliable, they don't just ghost me, that's the worst thing you can do, is suddenly just ghost. I've had an experience like this, and I've talked to many other artists that have hired other artists. Hey, you're going to do this on this project. They're like, great. You pay them half up front, and then suddenly they deliver a half done project, and then you don't hear from them again, and you pay them, and then they're suddenly just and you're like, hey, we had this was, maybe you haven't paid me yet, but you start trying to give them notes, and they totally ghost you, and they don't message you back. I'm like, that's part of personality. And so you have to be reliable. People have to feel they have to feel confident that you're not going to ditch them, in a project, And so, yeah, these things, I think if you build up personality, you build up your skills, you have data. I would include in data that kind of goes with a little bit with your reel. But I also think something that can be really important with data is your, it's like data, but like, let's say you have a good following. Like I've had times where it's because I have a good following on any socials, it's actually helped me like charge more. And so I'm like tempted to put like your brand, I don't know, your data, because following does help. Like building some type of social presence, I believe helps a lot too. But anyway, yeah. So social media, that can help you kind of build your data, build your reel. People know who you are. You're networking within the community, and then working on your eye, having a good eye, someone that can just have a good artistic eye, I think can really benefit you. And I feel like if you can do these things, your value is going to go up, and you're going to be able to charge more. And the place where you'll start hitting, and that's why, again, I would say it's better to take less clients. Like try not to take like 1 million clients by yourself. It's better to have less clients, higher paying clients. And so one way to eliminate if you have too many people coming to you is you start charging more. If you start realizing that a lot of people are coming to you and you can't take it all at once, that's your sign. That's your sign to start charging more. Super important to start just being like, okay, I got to start charging more monies. So yeah, charge more if you start hitting that point. Does anyone have any questions so far? Anything in here that you would agree, disagree, or something that you would add to this? Wow, we have 16 people on Twitter today. Some days Twitter is just like a lot of people. Yeah. Send me any thoughts, feelings you have about this. And we can talk about it. And like I said, I'm going to be, maybe on my Patreon, I'm going to clean up my spreadsheet that I have. And if you join the Patreon, I'll allow people to download it and use it. And you can put in your own rates, and you can put in everything that you need to. And yeah, I'll try to build it up a little bit nicer and clean it up. But yeah, so this is, I don't want to go too far into this because I think I want to eventually make a longer, more in-depth course about all this stuff. But I think this is the kind of things that can help you guys out. Was this helpful? Not helpful? Let me know. There's other things we're going to talk about. I was going to talk about more about bidding, but we kind of did break that up into the two things where it's like assets versus, I would say, per shot. And under, yeah, the assets was, we did like models, rigs, look dev. What else would be here? There's something else in here, but I can't remember. And then per shot, this changes so much that it's always going to be like animation is very custom per shot. Simulation. Then you have, what else would go in simulation? It would go, yeah, matte paintings a lot of times are. Tracking, any type of tracking. You have comp, obviously lighting and rendering per shot. I guess you could put groom in here if there's groom, like doing like fur and stuff that, be considered like asset creation. But either way, it's like you kind of would bid it this way. And this is per shot. So it's like, you'd have to, let's say your model's like 3K that the client wants. You have to rig it for animation. That's 2K. Your look dev's another 2K. Your groom is going to be 2K. And see, I think a lot of clients don't realize how much it takes. to do this. Assets could also be like if you have like some photo packs, or it could be plugins or add-ons that you need. You'd want to charge for those. You'd want to charge for stock. So if you need to purchase a bunch of stock stuff, that's like a one-time purchase. It's not a per shot thing. You just could buy a bunch of stuff up front. And the cool thing is like the asset creation stuff. Like if you, let's say that they haven't filmed, they're in pre-production. The nice thing is a lot of this stuff can be started here. You can start like at the pre-production. Like once you're done with the meeting, you can say, hey, we need to start this stuff right now. And this is part of like being kind of a producer. Okay, Ruben, how do you justify charges certain prices? How do you explain ROI to clients, or how do clients value the 3D VFX work? So sometimes it's really hard to be like, here's the ROI, like the return on investment, be like, hey, we're gonna spend this much. Sometimes it's just like you have to be like, oh, you know, this is gonna make you guys look like it's gonna be, it's like branding even sometimes. Branding, they're like, what's the value in creating a nice looking logo? You know what I mean? And so a lot of it could be company perception is not paying for something cheap. If they're a bigger company, they want to pay for something that looks really good. But in my case, I've had clients that were like, they kind of look to us to do a lot of creative ideas, not just creation. And so, what's up, Deeply? And so a lot of times we will be like, hey, we like pitched this idea. We did the idea, you know, we agreed to it. And hey, look how many views it got on your, you know, we were able to drive. That's when I'm able to look at, you know, how much traffic, not traffic, but how many eyes we got, because I can't calculate the traffic that they're getting. So, and it depends on the project, because you're right. Yeah. Sometimes you can't. What the heck? Susu from Jim. What the heck? Yeah. So these types of things, the assets can be created in pre-production, and this is when you want to start getting approval and stuff. But again, when you're bidding stuff, this is how you have to do it. And per shot, let's say we're gonna do 10 shots. They have 10 shots. They have an animated bear, you know, and so you'd be like, okay, for each shot, or how many, and you also have to be, especially with animation, how many frames, how many minutes, because a lot of animators bid on how many minutes, how many seconds, or whatever it is. So your rate would be based on that. Simulation, you know, it's like how complicated. So it can get expensive quickly. But like in a general sense, if you're just like, okay, each like comp for each of these shots is going to be $500, you know, a shot, which I think is personally kind of low, because that's like, if your goal is to make 100K a day, you can only spend half a day on the shot, right? So for me, like I do like 1,000 a day, and so I have to look at the shots and be like, that shot's going to take me 2 days, that shot's going to take me 1 day. And so you might find, and depending on your rate per thing, then you say, okay, well, this is just for my rate. Let's say this is like 12K just for comp. And I think clients don't understand everything that comes into the process. Now, let's also say that I'm going to a different color. You're like, let's say you're someone like me that's kind of a generalist, and you're like, oh, I can do some of the matte painting, and I can do the tracking on my own, and I can do the comp, and I can do the lighting. Should I charge one lump sum for that? The answer is no. You don't want to be like, I'll do all of this for 9K. You know, like that's me. I'm excited to get paid 9K. I'll do all over that. Do not do that. And I'll tell you why. Let's say you're planning, you're in your head, you're like, I am planning to, well, and we're going to say that you did this way. You're like, I could do all that for 9K. We're going to pretend. And then you get into production and you start working on stuff, and you're like, oh shoot, I'm running out of time. I need help. I'm not going to be able to hit the deadline. I'm screwed. And the client's like, hey, we need this done like right now. And you're like, I'm working as hard as I can, but I'm stuck in comp right now. Like I'm struggling. I need to hire some more people. Well, now you shot yourself in the foot because you didn't save any money to hire anyone on these. Like let's say you barely have enough to do comp. And so now you're stuck in a really tricky situation. And now you're getting mad because you're sad that you are making $9K for all these different things that you did. You're like, I'm only making $9K, and the client's mad because the client's like, what the heck? We're going to miss the deadline because you're taking too long. Like we paid you, the sum total of this, let's say, was quite a bit. And they're like, where the heck's the money? And you're like, well, I bid for all of my stuff like $9K. And they're like, okay, well then get it done. And you're like, yeah, but now I need more money to be able to hire the people to help me get it done. And now the client's frustrated too. So don't do that. Do not do that. Never come in there. And these are some things that I would say this tip I'm giving you is huge. So what you want to do is that's why you want to like bid per department. So yeah, what is this bro in the chat? I don't understand either. BSD. Is this from, what is that a bot? So what you want to do is you want to bid each department as if you are doing all these things. Let's say you are doing all these things. You want to be like, my matte painting is going to be $5K for this project. My tracking is going to be $5K for this project. My comp, let's say it is that $12K. My lighting and rendering is $12K. That's the way you want to do it. And then you'll make the total of all of that. And the reason why you do that is exactly what I showed you. Because if you can do it all yourself and you get paid to do it all, great. And you should. If you can do a good job and you can get paid per department, amazing. But if you hit a snag in your production and you're like, oh no, I don't have time to do this. Well, guess what? You were smart and you put some money aside and you said, fantastic. I'm going to call my friend Ian Vickner, talented matte painter. And I'm like, hey, Ian, I got a job for you, buddy. I have $5K to do these. Anyway, you can help me out. And hopefully he can. And hopefully you bid well enough. And if you didn't, that's when you'd be like, okay, I might have to allocate a little bit of other money from wherever else. You might have to do that sometimes. It's happened. But at least you're not in a situation now where the client's going to be frustrated with you because you're going to miss the deadline. They're not going to be like calling you and being like, you set the expectation that this would be done. It's now that problem's out the window. You don't have to worry about it anymore. So what's up, Matai Motion? How's it going? Thanks for joining. So when you're bidding, even if you are doing multiple departments, I believe it's important to bid per department that you are covering, just in case. The worst feeling is feeling like you took all these on and you did a lump sum, like we said, that $9K, and you're like, I'm going to do $9K for all of these things, and then you're not able to get it done fast enough, and you're also not making enough money. So you're double mad, and the client's mad. So again, when you're making your own little bids and you're figuring this all out, make sure you're charging per department. And if a client comes to you and they said, why is this video so expensive? Sometimes they won't. Sometimes they're like, okay, and they're just like, whatever, like it's going to cost what it's going to cost. But, I haven't even calculated this, but we're just going to say it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, let's just say it's $80K project, right? We're just going to throw out a random number. Sometimes the client will be like, well, why is this $80K? And then you're like, well, we have the 10 shots. Animators cost this per shot. We have to pay to have the characters all rigged and this and this and this and this. And they might come back and be like, we don't have $80K. And you say, okay, what would you like to, what can let's figure out what we can eliminate. Maybe we need to cut down the shots. And if you're in pre-production with a client, it's great. Cause then you say, yeah, maybe you guys can't afford like an 80K project. Maybe you guys can afford 50. Like you guys feel like you can do 50. So let's plan around your edit. Let's get this down to like five shots. And because we know that all these assets have to be created. And so that's just is what it is. And so, but we can work around maybe cutting down some costs on like animation and maybe some simulation stuff. Or maybe we don't need simulation. Do we really need to do it? Let's figure out how we can shoot around it. Or maybe if we shoot it this certain way, we don't have to do simulation. Let's see if we can use some stock, you know? Yeah, there's things like that, but it's working with the clients and helping them. But yeah, let's see. Aniket, sorry if I say her name bad. What about deadlines? Will impact bidding? Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a whole nother thing. Deadlines are another thing that can really throw a wrench in things. So, because you have to think of it this way. If you have a deadline and they're like, we want this whole project in 1 month, and there's the women say just 5 shots. Suddenly you're like, okay, I can't just have one comp artist. So you need to be like, I need to do ×2 on comp. I need 2 guys tracking. I need ×3 on matte painters. I need times 2 more animators. And I also need to rent a render farm now. Let's just, I usually do anyway, and you can do like a rough calculator and be like, roughly, let's say the render farm is going to cost 10K. So then you have to explain to be like, oh, for this 1 month, I'm having to hire way more people. And I think they have to understand it. Be like, look, to hit that deadline, I can't do the same project in half the time without building a bigger team. And so, yeah, now it's going to cost like 100K or whatever it is. I'm just throwing out a number. And the funny thing is, like, these are big, when you look down here, like, oh, wow, that's big numbers. But this money, like, the client has to also understand that this isn't like all going into your pocket, And if you are, this is one more thing I'm going to say. If you're the guy doing all of this bidding, you need to make sure you are doing plus your producing. I would say, yeah, it's VFX producing. Producing, and that is managing all of these different artists, making sure they're getting paid, making sure they're getting all the assets they need. That is a full-time job, is just keeping the pipeline moving. And so you would want to say, I'm going to add on an extra 20K for this entire project because I'm going to be at it from pre-production all the way to post-production till deliverable. And so, then it's like you add on your extra fee. But you don't want to, one of the things that I was saying earlier that you don't want to do is, like, sometimes you'll have a client, like they have a big vision and then they're like, and we want to pay like 10K for it. And you're like, well, that's when there has to be a little bit of, you have to start kind of teaching some clients if they don't understand the process. And you do it in a nice way. Again, that comes back to that personality thing. You want to do it in a nice way, but you want to educate them a little bit better on like, hey, like this is, let me show you the process so you can kind of see how it works. Robin, I'm in the process of making a deal with, but I've never worked with a big client to me. I do mediocre things at best. No, come on. How do I set value for what I do? This is hard stuff. Again, building the value, in my opinion, is going to come down to your personality. We talked about this earlier, skills, or the team you can build and manage. So again, this doesn't need to just be your skills. Robin, if you feel like maybe you're not the best, like me, like animator, like I'm not super good at animation, and maybe, I need someone that's really good at simulation, it's okay. You don't need to be the best at everything. You really don't. So if you don't feel confident, I think it's building a team that you're confident in and being like, we can get the job done. This isn't all on me, but I pulled together. I've worked with a VFX producer that doesn't understand Blender. Like, but they're throwing out the bids and they're the one getting the job, and they understand the process. They've worked long enough where they understand the process, but they're not an artist. There's producers, the VFX producers. And that's when you're a freelancer, you're essentially that. So you're kind of wearing a lot of hats. And so you do have to be a little bit, you know, it is what it is. You have to produce a product at the end of the day. If you're a full-time freelancer. And so when you're doing that, you need to build, the client needs to have confidence. And so your personality is going to shine through. You saying, hey, I have a really strong team on this project. And I'm going to make sure that we get it done. And so part of it is understanding the process. I'd say is part of the skills that you would need to build that value is understand the entire pipeline. So that you can bid and you can bring in the right team and speak the language and be like, this needs to happen first, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and getting those checkpoints off with the client. So again, you don't need to be the best at everything. Like, that's not the way it works. It's you work with the people that you believe are the best. And I think that's why it's really important to be part of a online community. Like, I love being a part of like VFX communities, because there's so many times where artists are like, hey man, like I can't take all this work. Like, can you help me? You know, do you want to work on this? And I'm like, yes, that'd be awesome. And you get to work with a lot of people. So it's important to build a strong network of artists online. I think it's so important. And that's, again, personality. Don't be rude to people online. Don't be rude to other artists. Don't crap on other people's work. I think that's something that can be to your detriment financially. It's just not being someone that's friendly and fun to work with. So again, Robin, you don't need to be the best of the best. If you don't feel super confident in your skills, feel confident in the team that you can bring to the table. Feel confident that you're like, I have the team that can do this. And then whatever you're confident in, whatever you feel like the best at, do that thing in the production. If you're like for me, honestly, I feel best in like comp and lighting. I think I have a good eye for lighting and comp. But I hire people all the time for tracking and for matte painting and for animation and simulation and look dev. And I like doing those things, and I understand how to speak those different languages, but I don't need to wear all these hats. You know, I need to be able to, I need to understand the process. And to me, that's what it is. It's understanding the process and being able to communicate with the client and make them feel confident that you're going to do a really good job. And yeah, Robin, I think if you have a big project and you're kind of hesitant, build a strong team around you and you'll feel a lot better, you know, and you're going to learn, and that's okay too. Like, don't be afraid if you're like not going to do it perfectly the first time. No one does. I made so many mistakes when I would first bid or when I would first, you know, do some stuff. I constantly have been learning, and I think that's just part of it. But yeah, it always comes back to, that value and the data and so on, seeing your stuff online, like just from my Instagram and from YouTube. Bro, I'm available for lighting and look dev and comp also. Perfect. Great. More of us. I need more. Yeah. And that's why I've been on my, my Google form on my link tree. If you guys go, I think I posted that. Maybe I'll post it again. If you guys want to work with me, I have a form you fill out. Let me find it. Where did I put it? Let's see here. This one. This little form has been great. We've had 20 responses. That's awesome. I'm just going to copy the link. Shorten it. Copy. I'm going to paste it in here. So if you guys ever want to work with me, boom, fill out this form. I get your email, your reel. What are your working rates? What are you good at? What software do you use? Which ones, you know? So this is just helpful for me. It's super helpful. And so I've been able to build like a whole spreadsheet, and I can use you guys and we can work together, and I'm happy to bring you guys work. That's the other thing, is everyone wins. This is the best thing, is like we all win. Everyone's like, if you live in a place in the middle of nowhere and locally there's not a lot of good work locally, online you can get plenty of work from other artists overseas and domestically, whatever it is, it's great because then you're able to just have a strong network and again, personality. Be someone cool that everyone likes to work with, whether it's a client or whether it's other artists. Be cool. Just be nice. It goes a long way. It goes a long way. And I've learned and I've made mistakes where I've said, put my foot in my mouth, said something stupid, and it's a learning lesson. It's a learning lesson. You're like, oh, just being immature, getting offended, getting your feelings hurt. That happens a lot too. I had a really, really, really good boss, and he's at Zebra still. My friend DC gave me amazing advice because I would kind of get not my feelings hurt, but I would get it would hurt if someone didn't like my work. And it was it wasn't my personal projects either. It was work projects. And if I noticed when we get criticism, I'd be like, oh, it would make me frustrated and I would get my feelings hurt a little bit. And he's like, Aaron, you need to separate yourself. You are not your art. You are not your work. You need to take your personality and sever the two things. You are not your work, because I think in my head, I was saying my value is all based on the work I would present. And so when people would reject or have a problem with some work that I did, it felt like a personal thing. And a lot of artists deal with this. I know a lot of you in the chat think this way. You have a hard time separating yourself from your work. And that's part of, I swear that's part of being an artist, but it's very important to sever the two things. And when someone's criticizing the work, they're not criticizing you. And it's important to operate at a higher level and be like, yeah, that's okay. Let's figure out how to make this thing better, And it's okay to talk about things and explain your thought process, because sometimes they may not get it, and be like, here's what I was thinking when I was doing this. Here's, in certain clients, it's okay also to walk away from certain clients. If you are hey, this isn't this project's not working well. That's one thing I would say that has been one of the frustrating things, is having a client maybe say something to the effect of, they think that they're they hired you because you're really good. And then they're they have something in their head, and you could do a side by side, and your thing's clearly miles above theirs, but they're so stubborn that they want to stick with their thing. And you eventually have to be okay. And you just do what they want. And that's happened to me working on a feature before. And eventually I was I had to say, yeah, I think this project's not going to be for me, just because it was one of those things where I'm artistically, or just what I was doing. And I wasn't taking it personal, but it was just one of those things where I was okay, I've presented the cream of the crop, really good looking stuff. And I was also working at a lower rate. And so I was okay, I'm not getting paid as much as I should on this one, because I thought it'd be a fun one to work on. And it's getting overly criticized. And I was this director, this person had an idea in their head, and I was just okay, I'm going to let them run with that then. And that was an interesting experience. It happens. But that was, it was an independent film. It wasn't anything huge. And sometimes you say, and again, that's why sometimes you disconnect yourself and you say, okay, I'll do what you want. Something else that can really slow down the process and where you can burn a lot of money is, as we talked about, revisions. And I'm going to show you kind of what can happen. So let's say you made this V1 and you're really excited about this V1. And this is you. And this is the person that approves, right? This person up here. They're the approval. I was going to write. And they say, good job. So that's the person you want to get the approval through. And I have and this is me. But there was a certain company that I would work with that had a lot of people in the middle. So there was a middle management here, middle management there, middle management there, middle management there. So then I had all these people to get through so that this person that could approve it could see it. And I had an instance where I was doing like, hey, here's V1. And they said, no. They said, I don't like it. And so you're like, okay, V2. And they're like, I still don't like it. And so it goes back to you. And so, okay, here's V3. And they're like, oh, yay, now I like it. So then finally they say, I'm going to move it V3 to this person. And they say, I don't like it. And then it goes back again. This is like management, middle management hell. This is, a matter of fact, we're going to draw flames. This is like the worst nightmare you could have. This is all, this is hell. That is the worst. This is one of the most frustrating situations you can get in. I had a situation like this happen on a project, and I could not get, I kept going back and forth, and I was trying to be accommodating. Again, I was trying to be nice, so accommodate. But I was accommodating the wrong people. So finally, after probably V15, and I've seen people get to like V80, but I was like, this is getting insane. And these people, all these middle management people, their only job, what they were supposed to be doing on this project, was they were supposed to show this person. And this person was supposed to give their notes. And then it was supposed to come back to them. And then, they were supposed to tell me. What was happening is this person, this middle management person, and all these other ones, they were all these middle people all giving their input. And none of them work in VFX. They're all management. They're literally email, meeting setup, pass on the note. But they wanted to all have their like stamp on it. Well, our deadline started creeping up, and I was like, we're not going to make it because we're stuck. And we finally had to have like a big, like, as they would say, come to Jesus. And I said, hey, I'm putting up the alarms. I need to talk to him. This is getting insane. And I said, I need to talk to the guy that approves. I don't like this in the middle is slowing down the entire thing. And guys, once I talked to this person, guess what they said? Hey, I like that one the best. Yeah. They ended up wanting the V1. All of these versions that I did wasted weeks and months, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to cry so bad. Has anyone else had this situation? Because that situation was, oh boy, I had to like take some time off after that. I was so mad because I was staying up late. Like, because these middle management people were like, all thought that their input, their artistic input needed to be heard. And their ideas were really good. I'm doing quotations if you can't see. Compositing it, I went through 40 versions. It went to V2. Ah! Yes, dude. Okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone, dude. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, this is middle management hell. This is a nightmare. So it's really important. And what I learned is I should have voiced my concern at the beginning. What I should have said is, because I knew that it was going to go to this person, and I'm not even kidding you, I think it was 4 people that it had to go through. And I think what I could have done better in this situation is I could have said, hey, can we send it to this guy and get like all of his notes, just his notes. Like, and if you guys can all just like have a meeting directly with him where he gives his notes, and if you have opinions, you talk to him about it, and just talk to the approval guy. I don't need to like, and then have him, I want a finalized notes thing. If he agrees with you guys, that's fine. Like if he likes your guys' ideas, you all talk to him and he likes your ideas, then sure. Like I'm happy to do them. Like that's not the problem. Like I don't have a problem making changes. That is like always going to happen. It's inevitable, you know? And so if I could have communicated better and said, and structured it this way, it's like, who gives the final approval? Like who's in charge of like, this is done, and get this key person and get just their notes. And he collectively, they build notes together and then they send one back to me and I make those changes. Frankly, then I'm not as mad if I have to do V2, V3, because I know that's the guy that's going to approve. And at the end of the day, then I'm like, good. I'm getting like direct notes from the person that gives me the stamp on this thing. And I'm not getting stuck in hell. Like I'm not getting stuck in this middle management hell. It's nightmare. Taylor says, this reminds me of the book Bullshit Jobs, Middle Management Hell. They have nothing better to do. Sometimes, man, sometimes, my gosh. I might have missed it. Do you have any useful tips on cold outreach, finding medium-sized clients? I've done some e-commerce stuff in the past, which seems to be good for direct client. Yeah, Compositing Academy. I mean, you're probably rolling in it, man. Your courses are amazing. You're killing it. I love, yeah, your stuff's the best. What we were saying, cold outreach, I've been fortunate enough to not have to do a lot of cold outreaches. It's been a lot of, I've been lucky where people come to me, like on Instagram or YouTube or LinkedIn, and so to me it's like the real, and like, dude, your work's incredible. Like I would be honored to work with you, man. Like your work's incredible. And so it's really just putting out the work. And if you ever do a cold, because I guess I have done a couple of colds, and when I do it, this is where I talk about personality, is be enthusiastic and be like, hey, like I really like your guys' brand. Like even find companies that you're a fan of and be like, I made you guys a little 3D thing and I would love to work with you. And like just being excited about another company's product or their service or whatever it is, being a fan of theirs, they'll be like, yeah, we want to work with you. And even if you're saying, hey, like I would love to do like, and that's where I was pitching this idea of doing the retainers. If you want to do like monthly retainers with certain clients, that's been really nice. And you have them on for like, even if you had 2 clients that paid you $5,000 a month for 6 months to a year, that's a nice salary. And you're doing one social media 3D thing for their social media. You can do, like, there are so many clients that are itching for content. And so don't think about, and this is what we were talking about earlier, but don't think only about like, because I know you do film and commercial. It's okay to kind of shift it and be like, I'm going to work on this company's social media posts. Eddie Chu, who I always talk about, crazy good at animator, worked at Scanlines, worked at ILM. We worked together on that Dino V robot little project. He does freelance, and a lot of his clients, he's doing animation for social media. So, and I work with him on it, and we're not doing big commercial stuff. But these big companies, if you present it where you say, and we talked about this earlier, I did one video, one video was $15,000. It was a lot of animation and compositing, and, it was a team. And let's say I made, on this one, I made a little more because I did a lot more, but like $8,000 or something. And then you say, hey, that one project cost you 15. I'm happy to do 6 to, and I always try to do like longer, 6 to 12 months. And then you do a reduced rate. And so you're like, we'll do, instead of 15K, 6 months, we'll do a 12K a month deal, and I'll do one of these videos for you. So you guys are going to save $3,000 a month. That's enticing for them. They're like, great, we save money. Great, you're happy because you're getting consistency. And then you say, and then you try to add extra value. So sometimes I'll even like during that month, I'll be like, hey, I did these extra renders. Let's say it's a company that has a product. I said, hey, you guys sent me those assets, and on top of the video, just because you guys are awesome, I did a bunch of images for you for free. I thought you guys would want, if you ever want to post them. So like, I'm like constantly building this like cycle of value where they're like, oh, we can't lose him. Like he's bringing us more value. Like he's building up invaluable. Like we can't ever lose him. And so having like, you know, being really personable, awesome to work with, and then consistently delivering on what you guys agreed to and bringing in, you know, fun ideas or whatever you're doing has been a great way. But I think it's absolutely doable to be making over 100K a year as a freelance artist. And again, try to aim for less clients. I would say do less clients, but higher paying clients. So it's okay if certain clients are like, yeah, you're too expensive. Sometimes that's okay. And you need to find that medium, because as soon as one says yes, like let's say you threw out a higher number and you're like kind of clenching a little bit, you're like, are they going to say yes? Are they going to push back? Kind of find where you'll find where your rate is based on like how much people are saying yes and how much they're saying no. And I was saying earlier, I don't know if you missed this Compositing Academy, but like if they say yes too fast, you may have charged too low. Like that's usually a sign where I'm like, oh crap, I didn't charge enough on that project. So yeah, there's different ways you can approach it. Cold though, I usually just try to come in really excited about what they're doing, and then even showing something cool that you made that like, you're like, hey, here's my work. I would love to work with you guys. I think I can make your stuff really shine, even if it's on social media, even if it's like, hey, I want to work with you, create assets for your website. I've done 3D animated products that, you know, you can throw on your website and whatever it is. But I think when they see that you're excited about whatever they're doing, then people feel it. What else do you guys want to talk about? I think this is, we're holy cow, this stream has gone really fast. I feel like I've been talking like 1,000,000 miles per hour. I have a lot of thoughts, clearly. This is a huge mess. And if you guys have really good tips on like bidding or anything like that, because we also talked about, this was our bidding stuff we hit on. This was management from hell. You know, we talked about how do you make 100K a year close, you know, or whatever. You only need a certain amount of projects. You can do a couple big projects, or you could work at a studio, you know, because I know Compositing Academy, you've worked at a studio, which is awesome, but you also could have these side if you have time. And that's the hard thing is, and that's why I'm like, it's better if you can start raising your rates so that you don't have to take, your time's not being filled up. Like, let's see if I can illustrate this in a, it's like, this is your time, right? And your rate is, like, you're not filling your time with like, we're just going to say it's $1 or whatever. Like, and you're doing all these like little teeny jobs of like, but your time's totally filled. It'd be better to be like, you don't need to fill as much time. Like, yeah, you're working smaller amounts, but these are like $10. We're doing a small amount so you can kind of see. So then you're getting more time, more money. And this is figuring out what your rate is. And so a lot of artists way lower their value, their rates. I find a mix interesting. Direct to client pay more than studios. Yeah. But more hassle with contracts and such. Yeah. Yep. And that's another thing we could talk about is payment. I don't have time to talk about like this stuff, but getting paid in payment, that can be a huge pain in the butt. That's one, but again, you know, you're a full-time freelance artist, then you got to figure out how to make sure you're making money, you know? And, you know, I have kids and a wife and a house, and so I have to make sure that money's coming in. And so it's really important to make sure that in your contract, you have things written out, be like, hey, like a lot of clients, most of my clients, I say, I won't even open your project until I get paid half up front. And, you know, you'd probably say, well, why, why? I feel like at least 50%. So, and if a client's burned you before, then I ask for either 100% up or like 75%. If I have a client that like was really bad on like payment, I say, look, like because the way things went, you have to get paid a certain amount. This is really good advice. I'm a 2D and 3D generalist artist. Pricing the jobs for me is always a task because everything is different. Yeah, VFX is so custom. I think a lot of clients, you have to think of it as like, this is like you're creating custom work. Every shot that we did over here that we were saying we're bidding, these are all like custom. And so I think once I get my Patreon up and rolling, I kind of have it up, but Patreon said they have to like wait to like approve it or something. I want to upload my Google Sheets. It's a nice little calculator, and you can put in your rates and put in how many shots, but I need to like organize it a little bit better. But it can help you kind of bid things out. And yeah. And again, I'm going to say this again, bid per department. Even if you are doing each of these, if you're doing matte painting, tracking, comp, don't do a lump bid for each of the, do individual prices for each of those, so that if you're running out of time, you can have money to hire someone someone that can do it, so you can hit the deadline. So again, and if you can do it all yourself, then great. You got extra money. You made some extra money that day. Oh yeah, we're talking about getting paid. These days it's really hard for a junior artist to find a job. Dang. Sorry, Owen. Yeah, junior artists, again, I feel like even if you're a junior artist, we talked about this earlier. I'm going to reiterate it. Do you need to be really good at everything? No, you don't. You do not need to be good at everything. You don't. It's impossible. Like, there will always be someone better than you, like, at something. And that is the nature of it. And so skills, I would say, is also your network. Build a good network, an awesome network of artists that you trust, that you can rely on, so you feel confident. That is going to give you, because again, I've had clients and they're like, hey man, can you like simulate this? We have a huge lava waterfall, okay? And then it's going to transform into ice, okay? And I'm like, all right, me figuring out like how long that's going to take is going to be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks now. And Houdini just playing with it and watching a bunch of tutorials. Sure, I could do that. Or I go and tap into my network and I say, hey, so-and-so, you're like a crazy good sim artist on Instagram. I love your work, man. You're freaking talented. I got a job for you. Can I get a bid? And do you take freelance? And reach out to other artists and be like, and then when they're like, yeah, dude, I'm down. You're like, fantastic. You're like, hey, when we start, I'll make sure I pay you half up front. You know, I always try to like tell them, like, when I get paid half up front, well, we don't even start till you get paid half up front. And they're like, boom. So then they're stoked because they're like, they're getting work, and they're like, and then other artists like working with you because they're like, this guy freaking pays. He kept his word. Like, he paid us. And you working with the client, because a lot of artists don't like working with clients, you know? Like, some artists can do it, but some artists don't like really doing that. And so if you don't have to deal with the client and you're just like over in your one department, they're like, here's the baked scene, here's the Olympic, go in Houdini, make a huge waterfall, and that's all they have to do, and then send us back your simulation or whatever, or if they can, render it out in a pass for you, whatever it is, you know. They're stoked. They're like, I don't have to deal with the client. I'm getting paid to do what I'm really good at, and I'm happy. So again, you don't need to be the best at everything, but build a good network of artists you trust and artists that are reliable. And again, that might be a little bit of trial and error. It's happened to me. I've hired artists before. I was super excited to work with them. And then I unfortunately got a little burned, and that happens. And I was like, okay, that person, I sadly couldn't rely on them. And it happens, you know, and I've given them second chances before. And they're, you know, if they've been like, I had something going on in my life, I'd be like, okay, we'll try it again. I think that's wrong with my reel. I tried to show what I know. A lot of us have been confusing what I'm really good at. Yes. Maybe I should focus on totally pyro sims and fluid sims, 3 to 4 good shots. Yep. Also, Owen, this is to you. We're going to talk to you. So Owen, you're good at pyro. That's awesome. and you like doing pyro and that gives you joy in your life and you want to get paid to just do that, here's what I would say to you, Owen. How do you make your skills shine? Let's make it yellow. How do we make your abilities, like how do we make you look like a freaking rock star? I'll tell you. You need to find someone. You need to go collaborate with other artists and then put that in your reel. So I would say you find maybe an animator that created a really cool scene, right? Let's say they created just this, like, it's a helicopter, and or you find an animator or a RBD sim guy. You find a guy that does really good RBD sims, and he's like ripping helicopters apart, and you're like, that is amazing. And you say, hey dude, hey, you're cool. This is a mess. Say, hey, you're cool, and say, let's work together. And this guy's going to be like, yeah. And you're like, hey, can I make your work? Can I add, like, I love doing pyro. I would love to take can you bake that out and send it over to me? And I'm going to add in my explosions. I really like doing explosions. So I'm going to take your RBD sims and I'm going to add all these sparks and smoke and fire. And because I'm really passionate about it, and I want to make your stuff look good. Well, that guy's stoked now. And if you work with an animator, and let's say they have like a robot that's animated and it punches through the helicopter, and then the RBD guy worked on that, and then you're slowly building this team, and then you're like, we need someone that's really good at look dev / come on, guys, don't mind my handwriting. It's atrocious. And then you say, hey, we're going to work with someone that's really good at look dev and lighting. And guess what? Guess who's winning in this? All of you. You all won. Everyone in this wins. But you know what's best, Owen, for you is now you put this in your reel. And this is why I think people that have like movie stuff, like movie credits, their reels look so incredible because they're working with a bunch of artists and they're like, hey, I did a pyro on this. And it's like all these other artists are making their department, they're making them look super good. You know, they're getting the best compositors. They're getting the best look dev artists. They're working with the best, and it's making their work shine. So if you feel like you're real, if you want to be like an amazing pyro guy, build a team that you trust online and people that want to collaborate on, even if it's a shot. I'm going to pull up, you guys have seen this like a billion times, but I'm going to pull it up anyway. My, 1 second. Hold, please. Oh gosh, I'm pulling my ArtStation really quick. Ask questions while we're sitting here for just a second. Okay. This project, I've talked about this a million times, but I'm going to talk about it again because this is an example of what I'm talking about. So this whole project started with this. I found this animation. Well, Eddie showed me this, and I was like, dude, can I please light and render this? Can I please? I like begged him. I was like, he's like, of course. Like, he was excited. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, I'll do it for free. I don't, like, who cares? And so I started lighting it, and this was one of my first passes, and I was having so much fun. And then I posted online. I said, hey, does anyone want to come do pyro on this? And then Urban from Double Jump Academy, he was like, dude, can I do the Sims? And I was like, yeah. So then we shared the Alembic file with him, and then he sent over some VDBs to me and some of this RBD Sim stuff. And he's like, dude, here you go. And then I start plugging it in and adding learning how to, and I was doing this all in Clarice. And then I did some comp, and then I see those matte paintings. I said, hey, Ian Vickner, my good buddy, said, Ian, dude, do you want to do matte painting on this? Do you want to like spice up my renders a little bit? And he's like, yeah. He's like, because this makes me look good too. So what ended up happening is all of us won. All of us won together. And I took the longest because I was doing lighting and comp. It took, a super long time. But I learned a ton, guys. Like, this was such a good experience. I learned a ton about just the pipeline, how things work, my super messy node. I know Compositing Academy's looking at me and like, huh! But yeah, like, this was such a good experience for me to learn. And on my profile, also on ArtStation, I did this. I mean, this is something simple, but I wanted to do a Blender test. And so I found an animator that animated Spider-Man, Henrik, I believe his name is. And I was like, hey, Henrik, can I do look dev and lighting on the Spider-Man? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, can I make it cool? And he was like, absolutely. And I wanted to learn. And then the background city, Ian said, hey man, can I do like the matte painting in the background? I was like, sure, dude. So he did a whole matte painting for me. So it's like, this is, you're kind of seeing my raw render on the left and my final comp on the right. But yeah, like, if you want to make yourself look and build that value, don't feel like you have to do all of this stuff by yourself. Find a good team and find people you want to collaborate with, and then you're all going to make each other look so much better. And that's kind of what we did in this process. It's building a strong team. So, Owen, that was a lot of me talking to you. But basically, just want to help you guys shine. I got to jump off because it's 11:30 and I got lots of work to do. But this was so much fun to jump on. Anyone else have any last thoughts about business and work and all this stuff before we say goodbye? Because this was a fun stream. And then we'll say adieu. Yep, Owen, go find some people to collaborate with. Reach out to me if you make some cool pyro sims. I'm happy to work with you as well on stuff. Send stuff. See if someone in the chat here. We have lots of really talented people. They need some really good pyro simulation stuff. Hit them up. Yeah, dude. Thanks for joining Compositing Academy. Appreciate it a lot. I love watching your streams too. So keep streaming. It's fun to watch your working and like doing your compositing is super cool. I learn a ton from you. So thank you. Joe Old School, thank you so much. Thanks for joining as well. And guys, hopefully this is helpful for you. Maybe I'll eventually on Patreon make an actual video where I break all this stuff down. Yeah, and if you guys are looking for good nuke tutorials, check out Compositing Academy. His stuff is amazing. Really good stuff. This is one of my favorite 3D streams. Taylor. Dear. So nice of you. Jeez. Daniel was supposed to be here. Daniel was constantly like, hey, man, well, when are you going to talk about business? And he no-showed on us. So I'm going to have to send this to him because he failed me. Just kidding, Daniel. You're the greatest. Thanks, Poopycon. Poopycon. Yeah, thanks, Robin. Thanks for your input. Thanks for participating. Was this? Yeah, it sounds like everyone liked this stream today. I really think now I'm going to have to turn this into an actual video. I think I'm going to do a couple different videos and talk about this stuff. I think it's really helpful. Maybe one day I'll even tell you kind of like how much I was able to make. It feels weird talking about stuff sometimes, but I think it's also good for artists to hear. Be like, yep, this is how many projects I could take on, and this is how much we made. I will say this: I had 1 year where I was able to take and manage a bunch of projects and make over. It was close to 200 in 1 year. So you guys can do it. Very helpful. Thanks, Chris. So it's true, Taylor. It's only awkward if we make it awkward. I just people get weird when you talk about like money. But I think it's good to talk about it because there's so many artists that struggle. And so I'm like, if we all can talk about it and make more, I love that idea. So yeah, we made close to 200 1 year. And that was me doing projects and me having other projects going and then checking in and basically being QC or QA, quality assurance. Yeah, making sure that and I had my like kind of signature, like as in like I would take it in a comp if I had to like fix a couple things. So sometimes, and that helps when you have when clients feel like you have a really good eye. They want your signature, they want it to be filtered through you. They don't. Anyway, one last thing I was going to say. I feel like also it's important not to be, when working with artists, and this is a whole nother video, like working with artists, super good. And you have to be careful not to just shoot them down and shoot down. I think it's way better. I've had nothing but better work when I've approached artists and been like, dude, that looked great. You killed it. I'm like, and then I come in with what if we did this? What would you think about that? You know, or what if we added this in there? Do you think that would be cool? Like, and try to, versus be like, this looks terrible. Like that, no one works good with that. So working with artists too is a whole nother skill, and giving them positive reinforcement, and then also helping them if they're kind of stuck and being like, dude, you should try this. And then you like pull up Nuke and you show them like, what if you did that? Would that be cool? You know? Anyway, thanks guys. This is so much fun. We had a lot of people today, 40 people. Holy crap. Yeah, 10 on YouTube, and we had 28 on Twitter. But I'm always like skeptical of Twitter. But then we had people on Facebook, and we had people on Twitch. We had every platform rolling. Fantastic. Yes, let's talk about money. We need to get more comfortable with that. Okay, Chris. Next time we'll open up the books. Maybe on my maybe that'll be a Patreon video. That's like an exclusive video where you get to really dive in and see, and I'll like show you bids and everything. Okay, thanks guys. This was fun. I actually really like talking about stuff. I'll talk about it more. I think business stuff is good for all of us. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys maybe tomorrow. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how I feel when I wake up. Also, look forward to my Patreon. Let me show you. Gosh, I just won't shut up. Patreon is coming. I promise. Where is it? I'll show you really quick. Sorry. So I started building the memberships. The $3 is join. You get to vote. The $7 is join the community, updates. You get to vote on the next video. Oh, wait, no, this one you get to vote too. But this one you also get the exclusive live streams and videos that are rolling on here. And then this last one, 13, is you get all of that stuff, and you get stock footage, so my stock effects, and you're going to get project files, which I think would be pretty sweet. Let me know if that's a pretty good deal. I think it's pretty good. Anyway. All right, boys, girls, friends, artists, thank you for joining. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.